one more role, which is already starting to become very prevalent, are the data workers, right? So data workers are people who generate the data, right? So earlier, in the previous generations of AI, right? So where you are actually building these AI models to do predictive modeling or decision making and so on and so forth, you were looking at data being generated by experts. So you want to generate a medical data set, right? You go to a doctor, right? You want to generate something else, right? So you go to a specialist in the domain. You go to a lawyer. So if you want to get some law data sets and everything. But now what is happening is these Gen AI models are able to consume a lot of language data, conversational data, and image data and things like that, which general public can generate with a little bit of training, right? I mean, to identify whether something is a bus or a car, right? I mean, you don't need an expert to do that. You don't need an expert in transportation to do that, right? Somebody can come and do that, or to recite a poem in Telugu and record it. So somebody with good knowledge of language can do that. They just need to know how to speak into the mic. When do you start the recording? When do you stop the recording? How do you use the interface? A little bit of training on that, right? They should be able to generate, volumes of data, right? And likewise, people who can narrate stories, local myths and legends, right? Because we need to record these, because as we go along, right, AI and search engines have, if Google doesn't return a hit, we don't know about it, right? In fact, ironically, this happened to me a little while ago. I actually wanted to find out something about a festival that happens in my hometown. I, I mean, I had been part of it when I was a kid, right? So I didn't remember all the details of it. So I actually went and Googled. I got a lot of noise. I couldn't find out details about this festival, right? Because I was actually looking it up to write an article that said I wanted to say exactly this point, right? Because of all these LLMs, not trained to the local nuances, you are going to lose a lot of knowledge, right? And then I asked my mom, right? So I asked her, hey, what about this? She said, no, yeah, you should have used this particular triggering phrase, right? That's the thing you should look for. Right. And then I went and actually searched for that, and I got some valid results. But the point was that could have very easily gone. And Tamil Nadu is a place where a lot of people are IT savvy, right? So these things will get captured. But then in most parts of India, these kinds of nuances are going to go away, right? So I don't think my son has ever experienced that festival, and I don't think he will be able to find it that easily on Google. So these things will go away, right? So we need people who can actually create data sets around these, right? So, and we need to figure out how these things are going to happen. So these kind of data workers, right? The field of data workers, right, has now become much. The scope of data work has become much larger, right? And there are organizations. So Karya is one. One of our alumni is a co-founder of Karya, Vivek Sheshadri, and so these guys have been doing this amazing stuff, right? So they record people just reading out certain scripts, right? So because they want voice data, so they are recording this women particularly, because women voices actually are very less represented in most of the training data that we have. Mostly we have men voices. So women voices. So they've been asking women in villages to read out passages. And what they do is something interesting. Apart from giving the women just a small amount of money for doing the work, they keep track of every piece of recording that the woman has made. And if somebody uses that piece of data for training their model, then they track the use of that model as well. And whenever somebody uses that model and whenever income is generated, these women get royalty. It could be as little as 1 paise for every use of that model, but still, apparently, these things add up. And some of these women who have been prolific in their recording, not that they spend all their time doing this recording, but have been reasonably prolific, get up to $200-300 a month in salary. Just not salary, just it's just in royalty payments and stuff like that, from the downstream thing. So there's a huge potential for this kind of a data economy to bloom, as long as the industry adopts this kind of more ethical data practices, like Karya is, and a lot of backing. I mean, Karya is not the only org, but but there's a lot of backing for efforts like this now by the bigger companies as well, and also for some of the other NGOs and other organizations.